We make inferences every day. For example, you might see balloons tied to the fence of a house and hear the sound of excited children and infer that there is a birthday party going on. Or you might notice your dog whimpering and sitting by the door and infer that it wants to go outside. When we use clues to make an educated guess, we're inferring. Let's practice our inferring skills using this picture. What can you see? Some of these might be clues that could be used to make inferences. I can see the woman's eating popcorn. There's a TV remote in her hand, and I notice that she is laying on a couch and laughing. From these clues, I infer that she is watching the television at home, probably a movie because she's eating popcorn. She's laughing, which tells me it's probably not a scary movie, perhaps a comedy. My inference could be wrong, but based on the clues, I think this is a pretty good guess. Inferring is a very important skill in reading because it helps us get a better understanding of the text we read. To infer in reading, we use clues from the text and combine them with things we already know. Take this sentence as an example. Mrs. Lee sat at her desk, waiting for the children to finish their work. Look at these clues. She's sitting at a desk, and she's waiting for children to finish their work. Even though the author doesn't tell me directly, I can infer that Mrs. Lee is a teacher. Now we'll read through a short passage of text and try to answer some questions that require us to make inferences. Follow along as I read. Tina noticed everyone was already in their seats. It took a moment, but eventually her eyes adjusted to the darkness and she found what she was looking for. Guided by the strip of lights on either side of the aisle, she began making her way towards the back. "Excuse me," she whispered as she stepped carefully between the row of seats. "Where have you been?" Martha whispered. Tina held up a large soft drink with 2 straws. Martha smiled. Now for the first question. Where are they? The author hasn't told us directly, but has left clues. Can you find any to help answer the question? Here are some clues I found. Everyone in their seats, darkness, lights on the aisle, soft drink. From these clues, I can infer they're in a movie theatre. The second question. Why did Martha smile? I noticed just before Martha smiled, Tina held up a soft drink. The author made a point of telling us there were 2 straws. I infer that Martha was pleased that Tina had bought a soft drink to share. Let's try a different text. Follow along as I read. Gwen groaned as she leaned forward and grabbed a box of tissues. She had been up most of the night. Sniffling, Gwen placed them on the pillow beside her. Her son had told her he would stop by at 6 in the evening. Gwen looked at the clock and sighed. She thought about getting up and going to watch some TV, but she had watched enough TV over the past 2 days to last her a lifetime. Instead, Gwen gazed out the window to the busy street below. Look at the following clues. What inference can you make? I can infer that Gwen is feeling unwell. How long do you think Gwen has been sick? Is there a clue that helps you answer this? I noticed this clue. It says she has watched a lot of TV over the past 2 days. I infer that she has been sick for a couple of days. Last question. Where does Gwen live? The clue is here. She looked out of her window and down onto the busy street. I infer she lives in a city. Remember, whenever you're reading, look out for clues the author has dropped for you to find. Combine these clues with things you already know to make inferences. EasyTeaching.net.
What is an inference? It's a conclusion that you come up with based on what you already know to understand what you don't know. Basically, an idea you have based on your knowledge and clues from the book. To make an inference, you have to become a detective. Still confused? Well, here's an example. Look at this sentence. As a new student walked into the classroom, sweat rolled down her face and her stomach started to hurt. We want to figure out what is happening to the new student. Since the author doesn't directly say, we need to make an inference. Okay, put your detective hat on and let's look for clues. She's a new student, she's walking into a classroom, sweat on her face, and her stomach hurts. Now, let's think about what we already know. I know that when people are nervous, they sweat and sometimes get butterflies in their stomach. Also, when I'm new to something, I get pretty nervous. But I also know that people sweat and get tummy aches when they're sick or they eat really spicy food. Now it's time to make an inference. What do we think is happening? Based on the fact that she's new, sweating, and has a stomach ache, we can infer that the new student is nervous. I believe that this is the best idea based on the clues we see and what we already know. Notice the author never said that the student was nervous. The author wants us to infer that. Sometimes the author doesn't tell us what's happening, but they want us to know based on the actions of the character. This is when you want to make an inference. Inferences can help you understand a book or article when it's unclear or something's not directly said. It's not a guess, it's an idea based on your knowledge and the clues. Real quick, if you found any value so far in the video, smash the like button so this video can spread and help more people. This is the 8th video in the series, Foundations of Reading Comprehension. The goal is to help you become an active participant in the reading process. I want to invite you to join the challenge and watch the whole series. Now, here's a process of inferencing. 1. Read the story or article. 2. Stop and write down the clues or observations that you see in the reading. 3. Stop and write down what you already know. 4. Make an inference. Ask yourself, based on the clues and what I already know, what is happening? When you make an inference, you can use this phrase. We will look at 2 examples. One from our article on great white sharks, and another from the book Harry Potter. At the end of this video, I will give you a challenge activity. Look at these 2 sentences. Great white sharks eat at the top of the food chain. They can grow 21 feet long and weigh 3.5 tons. Think about how we can describe great white sharks. First, what clues do you see? They eat other animals, they're at the top of the food chain, and they're really big and heavy. Now, what do we already know? I've seen pictures and videos of great white sharks, and I know it's the last thing I want to see swimming up next to me. Now, let's make an inference. Based on the fact that these sharks eat other animals and are at the top of the food chain, I infer that they're scary, dangerous, and that humans should stay away. The author actually confirms our inference in the next 2 sentences. Few creatures are as scary as sharks. They hunt near where people surf and swim. Now, let's look at a quote from the book Harry Potter. Albus Dumbledore says this quote in the very first Harry Potter book. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. From this quote, what can we infer about Dumbledore? What clues do we see? He says that death is the next great adventure, and the well-organized mind could mean ready. Now, what do we already know? I know that Dumbledore is the most powerful wizard of all time and is really old. Based on this quote, I infer that Dumbledore is not afraid of death and is at peace. Now, here's what I want you to do. Find some books and articles that you enjoy. As you read, try to find the clues the author is leaving for you. From time to time, I want you to stop reading and make an inference. I also want you to try to make inferences to help you summarize. When you think about what or why something is happening, look for clues to see if you can make an inference. Remember this, inferences help you understand what the author is trying to say, even if they don't say it directly. You can use inferences to help you summarize. I have a complete workbook in the video description to help you with the process. You can either print out the PDF or make a copy. You can use inferences to help you summarize. And what the author is trying to say, inferences to help